Hello, hello, and welcome to my channel, Inviting Possibilities. My name is Rochelle, and I am here to do a reading for air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, wherever you might have that in your chart. And we all have everything in our chart, so this could be for you. Is my intention there's something in here for everyone. And also my readings are timeless, so whenever you catch this is the right time for you. It is very early in the morning, so my lighting is terrible. Um, um, but hopefully that means that my Wi-Fi connection won't be quite as bad. We'll see how it goes. Bear with me because it usually is. There's usually some kind of glitchy weirdness. So yeah, I've chosen 3 cards from Wisdom of the Oracle, and I'll be clarifying with some other decks, and I've let the universe choose a song for you. And the title of your song is We Used to Be Friends. Yeah, I think that this is all about changing a whole cycle in your life around who who you allow to be someone you would call a friend. Um, but let's dive in. So we get the round and round card in protection. And this is finally starting to see the pattern that you keep ending up in these situations with people where they leave you feeling disappointed, they cause you some kind of pain, some over and over again, you find yourself attracted to a certain kind of person. And you're realizing, oh, okay, in order to get off this merry-go-round, in order to change the pattern, I need to make the change. And I say this often, but always an inside job to make any kind of change you want to see in your outside world. And then we have chop wood in protection. And this is speaking to the idea of sitting around thinking about what you would like, but not necessarily taking the steps to do it. And so it could be something like, you've been aware for a while that you typically don't like the way your friendships go, that you think things are good and then somebody does something and they're not willing to own their stuff. They're not showing up in a way that feels good to you, that supports you. But you haven't necessarily been doing anything about it. And and so this card is speaking to the need to start making different choices, start taking those incremental steps towards what you want, starting with doing that inner work and also assessing. I mean, this is part of the inner work, but it's like assessing where you maybe don't have good boundaries in some areas with people, where you let things happen when maybe you shouldn't be. Um, it can often come from a place of being a people pleaser, wanting connections, even though they're not actually good for you. Um, so anyway, I think because you're becoming aware of this now, this is it's a call to action to actually start doing something, not just thinking about it. And then we have no place like home, right? No place like home and protection. And this is all about doing something different. And it's the idea that something things can often feel right, but they're not necessarily good for us. They feel right because they're familiar. And so maybe you're consistently, continually attracted to certain kinds of people because at the end of the day, they treat you like your parents treated you, or someone from childhood. You're kind of conditioned in a way to allow certain things into your life. And so this card is saying to start to think outside of the box, start to make choices where you're moving towards what seems unfamiliar, what's not totally comfortable, trying out new things, trying hanging out with new people that you wouldn't normally, and seeing where that goes. Because uh, with this whole situation at hand, it's about starting to take those incremental steps towards doing something different. I say this too, but it's that idea of, if you do what you did, you're going to get what you got, and it's time to change that up. It's time to change who you allow into your life, change who you choose to give yourself to in whatever way. So let's clarify with the good tarot. King of Air. I'm just going to pull these and then speak to them. Ten of Earth. Okay. And Hermit. Yeah, the King of Air is all about being very logical, being very strategic. Um, not this is the guy. This is the card of head over heart kind of decision making, and this is you getting very. I think this is you getting very clear, brutally honest with yourself on where you have not set healthy boundaries. And wherever you see any kind of injustices in your life, anywhere where people are not acting with integrity with you, are not supporting you, being kind, encouraging, whatever, the kind of person that you want in your life, you're now standing up and you're being very decisive and being like, you know, not that I don't love you, but I don't like you. And I'm not going to put up with this anymore. This guy, he doesn't put up with anything. And then, and that leads you to, that's going to lead you to your ultimate fulfillment. And this card in this deck is also about self mastery. And so, as you practice this, as you flex this muscle of setting boundaries, of being very decisive and strategic in who you decide to cut out and who you start to bring in, it naturally leads you to your fulfillment, to your abundance and prosperity in your life in all different ways. And then we have the Hermit, which is, it's all about taking the time to go within, doing that introspection to gain that clarity, to see where you need to make new choices, new decisions that are going to ultimately support you. No one else can support you unless you're doing that for yourself. And you're seeing that now. You're taking your responsibility and accountability for whatever in your life isn't working. And through this introspection, through however you're doing this, you're allowing yourself the time and the space to figure this out. And in this card, we have all the keys. Where is it? We have all the keys up here. One of these keys opens the door, and you're methodically trying out each key. You're trying out um, new things, again, that don't necessarily feel comfortable or familiar, but certainly different than w- the kinds of things that you've tried before, the kinds of people that you've hung out with before. Okay. So then, going to the Oracle Tarot, and we have Five of Coins, budget lessons. And this is a card can be of financial loss, of difficulties. It can generally speak to difficulties in relationships, of disappointment, feelings of failure. But because in this deck it's budget lessons, it's you finally learning the lesson, seeing the pattern. And it doesn't necessarily have to be around money. Sometimes, the pentacles can just be around like your physical world. And it's choosing who actually supports you and who doesn't. Learning those lessons in order to make the correct decisions. It's been difficult. It's left you pretty sad. But it's those kinds of situations that allow us to make the changes. Usually, we are not motivated to make changes unless we are faced with hardship in some way. So there's always a positive, something positive that comes out of, the potentially negative or bad situations. And then we have purposeful action. Yeah, and you're like, okay, this is you taking responsibility. And the thing about this card, I always point this out, is she's very balanced and she's purposeful action. She's moving forward very swiftly. The wind is in her hair, but she's leaning back just a little bit. And so this is speaking to me of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, feeling uncertain about hanging out with people who um, are different than you normally hang out with, but you're still going for it because it's trying on new things. Tr- You know, anytime we move into the unknown, there's a little bit of trepidation there. We humans like to know what's coming around the corner, and yet a lot of the time we can't see what's going to come around the corner. And so this is you being like, well, I know what I need to do, and but I'm nervous. Hanging back just a little bit, but still going for it. And then caring for yourself. And this is all about this going within, this learning how to nourish yourself, nourish that child inside that didn't get the support and the love, which is why you keep attracting these people who reflect this back to you. This is you taking matters into your own hands, loving yourself, learning to acknowledge and support and care for that part of you, because no one else can do it ultimately. Only you can do that anyway. And once you start to settle into more self-acceptance, more self-love, you start to see that reflected back to you in your life. And you start to be able to make choices that work for you, that allow new people and situations into your life that are better for you. Okay, so I'm going to look at the Wisdom of Avalon. Oh, we have the bee. It's so funny. I just thought of this card this morning. I think this morning I was like, wow, I haven't chosen the bee in quite a while. This card used to come up all the time. And then here you go. Yeah, what is it? I already forgot. Luck, industriousness, and sweet victory. This is you putting in the work. This is you getting up out of the chair. Because in the book, it talks about being an armchair astronaut. Um, this is you actually taking the steps, the industriousness, being like, okay, what do I need to do to make the change? I don't like where I've been. It's time to get off the merry-go-round. I'm so dizzy. I'm done with this. I'm done with this ride. And it leads you to good fortune, to the sweet victory of actually having people in your life that feel good, that you want, that um, reflect back to you your own inner support and feeling good about yourself. And then we get joy. Haha, yes, joy. Oh my God. I mean, You haven't been feeling joy. When we allow people into our life who don't treat us well, we naturally don't feel good. And this is you finally taking matters into your own hands. This is why you've had to be um, so decisive, so cutting in what you allow and what you don't, because you know you have to be that. Whoever you've been dealing with has not brought you joy, and it's time for that change. And you're going for it. You're realizing that your joy is your priority. No one else is going to prioritize your joy. Only you can do that. And disruption. Yeah, this is, I think, oftentimes disruption happens, um, kind of, it can feel like it's happening out of the blue. It can feel like it's happening to us. That, somehow the rug gets pulled out from under us and we didn't expect it. I feel like in this case, you are purposely creating the disruption. You are, and it could partially have to do with you being treated a certain way, and you're finally like, okay, that's the last time. I cannot deal with this anymore. This is too painful. But also creating a certain amount of disruption in your life through making these very decisive head over heart decisions and cutting people out and being like, I'm not doing this anymore. Then the disruption is so necessary, and it's a very kind of cleansing kind of thing where, it's the idea of a forest fire, you know, or an earthquake that levels a structure that wasn't built solidly, or a forest fire that comes along and clears things out in order for new things to grow. It's It can be destructive, it can feel painful, challenging, whatever, but ultimately it is necessary for the growth, for the new beginning. Okay. I'm going to go to the Osho Zen. See what Osho Zen has to say. Transformation. Yeah, you're going through a transformation within, and you're going to see the reflection of that all around you. And I did say forest fire. We have the phoenix here rising from the ashes. I feel like you are purposely lighting the match, and letting all the stuff that shouldn't be there, that's practically dying out anyway, letting it burn. And that's an interesting thing about forest fires, because we had one here last fall where I live, and I mean, we have them all the time, but one actually burned down a couple of towns here. It was really bad. And so driving along the freeway, you can see where there's, of course, a bunch of trees got completely burned and they're dead, but there are some that got burned, but then they're still alive, or there are some that didn't get burned at all. The fire somehow jumped over them or went around them. um, and so it's like, what was my point? Like, I feel like it's it's that this disruption is causing transformation in certain areas, and it's like you're able to bounce back. Not everything is getting leveled. It's just the things that's what it is. It's just the things that were already dying and needed to go away. And there are other things that are still growing, um, growing stronger than ever, new parts of you coming up. It's really positive. And oh, and then also, there's a hand here touching, kind of touching the mouth of this face. And the thing about the King of Air, he's all about communication. And being an air sign, communication, you're really good at that. And this is whatever situations you've been attracting, you haven't necessarily been using your communication to your benefit. And this transformation is allowing you to speak your truth, to speak in a way that uplifts you, using your words and your communication to clear out what's old and dead or dying or, not good for you. So then we have conditioning. Yeah. Yeah, this is where you've been. You've you've been keeping your mouth shut. You've been trying to fit in where you don't fit. You've been trying to be someone that you are not because you've been told that that's how you're supposed to be, and you're finally like, "Wait a minute. This doesn't work for me. This doesn't feel good. This lion, he's so sad. And all these little sheep, they're so happy." And he's just like, what am I doing? This is craziness. He's not meant to be hanging out with the sheep. He's meant to be eating them. I mean, it's y- you've been going against your nature, your natural wiring, and it's time to shake that off and rise up and be your powerful, strong self. Stand in your authority and very decisively go in a new direction. Go find it's like it's that idea of he's used to hanging out with the sheep. So it feels right because it's familiar. He's got the thing strapped to his back, but it's a he. Um but it's time for you to go find your tribe, find the other lions. And it's gonna be weird at first because you haven't been hanging out with them. But when you come together with them, you're gonna be like, "Oh," I feel like as you start to take those steps to start hanging out with new types of people, you're gonna realize that these are people that fit you better. They are part of your tribe. Okay, and playfulness. Yeah. This is coming back to yourself. This is a part of caring for yourself, being very playful in the moment. And when you start to stand in your power, when you start to be more authentic to who you really are, you can't help but because now you're releasing where you've been holding yourself back, where you've been pretending. Pretending to be anything other than you are takes so much energy and is so exhausting. And I speak from experience. When you start to just show up as yourself and be who you are, it's like a huge weight lifts, and you're just like, oh my God, yes, I feel so good. And you're gonna find your people and your new friends, your tribe, and it's gonna be amazing. And it's gonna put you in the state of joy, playfulness, joy and playfulness. It's beautiful. Okay. Let me finish off with the angelic messenger cards. Abundance. Yeah. Luck, industriousness, sweet victory, abundance, all the good things coming in. Ooh, and we have the 10 of pentacles as well. Yeah, you have a lot of abundance coming in. Simply through stepping into who you really are, owning that, loving that. And change. Yeah, this card keeps coming up. You are in the process of changing in a very fundamental way. Huge change inside and out. And vulnerability. I think this came up for you last time. This card keeps coming up. This is where your strength lies. When you are being your most authentic self, you are able to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable does not equate to being weak. Being vulnerable is being who you truly are and being very comfortable in that. And when you are able to do that, then you are able to share yourself with others. It's when we hold ourselves back, when we feel like we need to protect ourselves, that's coming from a place of fear. This guy is not able to be vulnerable because he's holding himself back. And and your strength is all it lies in you rising up, being playful, being in a state of joy. Because when you're in this state, when you're vulnerably yourself, when you are playful and enjoy and you just show up as you are, people are naturally drawn to that. And anytime someone comes along and questions that or challenges you in some way, you're like, you fall back on who you are, and you know that you don't have to defend yourself. You're like, well, you think what you think, but I know who I am. So anyway, this is great. This is beautiful. I love all these empowering readings. There have been so many. I feel like there's just this huge shift in the collective. Everyone's going through some major transformation. And it all starts with you. It all starts with you getting up, taking those steps, doing that work that you need to do to get you where you want to go, towards a life that you, an abundant, joyful, playful life with people who support you and appreciate you and uplift you. So there it is. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. Hello and goodbye, Destiny. Good morning. And I will see you on the next video. Mwah. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.